Welcome to Authentic Conversations with Ryan James Miller. Join Ryan as he speaks with top business leaders and influencers, and hear how they've mastered the art of authenticity to achieve all that they dreamed of. As you hear from these leaders, seek not only to be inspired by their authenticity, but to strive for and master your own.
What up and welcome to another episode of Authentic Conversations. I'm rolling solo today and I want to talk a little bit about authenticity, or maybe a lot about authenticity, because that's what I'm always talking about. So recently, and this is going to be really funny for some of you, completely irrelevant for others of you, but you're just going to have to go with me here. So recently, my wife and I actually think both of my kids, sat down and watched the Hulu documentary of Soleil Moon Frye. You may not know that name, but you may know the name Punky Brewster. And again, some of you are like, who the heck is that? She was this cute little kid that had a TV show with the name Punky Brewster, and Soleil Moon Frye was the main character, just this cute little girl. And so very popular in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I think it was early 90s. I was a big fan of the show back then. I remember I was actually about that same age, but I just remember really enjoying the show. Super wholesome. They don't make shows like that anymore. And by that, I mean wholesome shows. Anyway, so it was this fascinating documentary, and it was really interesting because she was carrying a video camera around with herself, which again, you know, in the 80s and 90s, that wasn't a typical thing to do. She documented the lives of so many stars of that day that have grown up, and some of them are stars today, like Mark Paul Gosselaar, otherwise known as Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, but he's gone on to do a lot of things. Brian Austin Green, David Silver from 90210, David Arquette, Stephen Dorff. There was just a lot of people there, and you were able to see some of the people that she hung around or were close to, guys that she dated, crazy people like Charlie Sheen, who was like 11 years older than her. But this documentary weaved this interesting story in, and it was Soleil Moon Frye that was narrating the whole thing, and she was talking about these relationships, and oftentimes as she grew in her stardom at a young age, how she felt disconnected and out of place at times, and needing to re-find herself after leaving that show, becoming a woman and not being able to find her place, and finding that on Broadway, and just a lot of other things. And it was all just synonymous with this idea of feeling like you could be accepted for who you were. And it ended with just this powerful thought from Soleil that I thought was so wonderful, and it'll bring it home from you or for you today if you're lost listening to this because you have no idea who the hell Punky Brewster is, and so whatever. But in a very emotional moment, she was talking about reflecting back on these video diaries and written diaries, and she's having present day conversations with some of these people that she was friends with back in the day. And to the camera, she says something basically to the effect of, when you share yourself with the world, you realize you're not alone. And man, that just blew my face off. And it did so because, for one reason was, you know, all we want to be is known. All we want to be is around other people that love us, that care for us, that support us. And yet, sometimes, for many of us, and I know I've actually been in a place like this a couple of different times in my life, nowhere near the level of stardom, obviously, that she had, but I'm sure you can relate to this idea where you have all these friends around, maybe your family's there, and yet you feel just absolutely lonely. And the effects of that are devastating to different degrees. For her specifically, 8 of her close friends that she grew up as teenagers with took their own lives at a young age. It looked like most of them were in their early 20s. Just this loneliness, probably this confusion that led to them taking their lives. I think of somebody that was just an amazing human being, an artist that I really admired, and that was Chester Bennington of Lincoln Park. And thinking about all the people that loved him and literally worshiped the ground that he walked on, and a wife that loved him and kids that loved him, and he felt so alone. Robin Williams, I mean, just so many people that we know that have taken their own lives. And one thing at the end of the documentary was information on suicide awareness and prevention, which I thought was so wonderful. But, it's not just that. Sometimes it's just despair. Even when we have friends that we have great relationships with, when we have people that really care about us and we know that, oftentimes we're afraid to share certain pieces of ourselves for fear of what people may think. We're afraid to share things that make us look less than we want to be looked at as, or we may share something that makes us looked at as weak, or somebody may judge us. And yet, we understand once we start to really open ourselves up, we start to understand just how important it is to be open and transparent. Because when we finally do that, when we overcome the fear, when we overcome the shame, when we overcome the struggle, when we overcome whatever it may be, we recognize that in sharing our pain and our weakness and our shame, that we're not alone. That other people are going to resonate with our story, that are going to resonate with our struggles, that are going to come alongside us because of the hurts that we share. Maybe because they share them too, or maybe because they just have a soft spot in their heart that they're empathetic to or compassionate towards people like us that have struggled. Another reason I think it's so important for us to open up and share ourselves along the same line is it's scary to walk the path that we have been asked to walk in this life. There's so many things coming at us, so many opportunities to just train wreck, shipwreck our whole entire lives. And yet when we open up, when we share ourselves with the world, it's this wonderful opportunity for accountability and support and encouragement. Every time that I share something that's hurtful, either from a past experience or in the moment, the feeling I have, even when it's just through virtual encouragement, of being surrounded and lifted up, there's this lightness to my feet. I feel loved. I feel cared for. Even sometimes when it's just for a moment, it's the moment I need it most to see some light in the midst of the darkness that I'm facing. And I would expect that for many of you, no matter how successful you are, no matter how happy you are, no matter how good your relationship is, whatever that may be, no matter how motivated and driven you are, you experience these moments of darkness, of desperation, of loneliness. And I just want to encourage you to open up and to share that with other people. I want to see that. I want to encourage you in that. I want to support you in that, but not because I'm any better or because I can lift you up or help you, though I may try, but because I'm going to stand alongside you. This desire for me to champion authenticity, my call on everybody that's around me to be authentic, is so we can live our lives the way that we have been created to live them, together, open, honest, and transparent. I know it's not cool to struggle, but let me tell you, I think it's really cool when you struggle. Because that means you're living real life. And if I know you're struggling, that means you're trying to live it as openly and honestly and authentically as possible. So, back to Soleil's quote. Again, I think it was so wonderful, and it's not verbatim, but it's as close as I can remember it to be. When you share yourself with the world, you realize that you're not alone. If you feel those moments of loneliness, that darkness and despair, my encouragement to you is to open up, is to be honest, to share. Yes, you may have to do that in degrees in certain environments with certain people, but step in. Begin to open up. You will not be sorry. So that's it for today. I just really wanted to encourage you in that. I wanted to share that story with you. It was something that really moved me to tears. It kind of sounds funny now when I say like Punky Brewster made me cry, but it's not like that, right? I mean, it's a real story of real people living a life. I mean, I just can't imagine what it must be like to be a celebrity and feel so alone. And yet we see that story all the time. But yet I know that there is somebody right now listening on the other end of this podcast or watching me right now. And you feel something of that. You need to hear this. You need to listen. It's what's for your good. Share yourself. Open up. Do not walk this life alone. You can't survive. You will not make it. And I'll go as far as to say, if you are in need, if you are struggling mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever that, financially, whatever that may be, please reach out to me. My contact information is all over the internet. And I mean it when I say that if you're listening to this podcast, there is a reason why we're connected. And it may be for a moment like this, for you to be encouraged, for you to be supported, for your needs to be practically met. I will do whatever I can. And if I cannot personally do it, I will try to help you figure out a way to get it done to meet your need. So please take me up on that. Thank you so much for your continued support of this podcast. I love for the opportunity to have conversations with guests, but also just for these short clips. I'm trying to do more and more of these, to release them on Tuesdays, to encourage you, to support you, just to share what's ever in my head or in my heart and really put it out there for everybody else to hear and see. Thanks so much for your support of my mission to be authentic. For all of you that are ordering gear online, just been so awesome to see pictures pop up on social media and someone's wearing a hat like I am today, or I wear them almost every day, wearing a shirt or a sweatshirt. If you want to pick up some merchandise, you can go to my website, ryanjamesmiller.com, click on the merch, and it'll take you there to the Shopify account. We've got some really cool merchandise that's going to be announced tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So as you're listening to this podcast, it'll actually be today. But so on Tuesday, March 30th, I'm going to be sharing just a new release of some merchandise that it's a shirt, a very specific shirt, limited release that we're going to be doing that I'm really excited to be sharing with y'all. So go to my Instagram page. That's where you're going to find that. It's at RJM Sales Pro is where you can find my Instagram. So follow that, check out my stories, jump in on the pre-order. It's going to go quick because we're going to limit the quantity there. But just super excited for all of your support. Thank you so very much. If you got any feedback for me, please, you know where to find me. If you need something, please, you know where to find me. Until next time, be you, be happy, be authentic. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Authentic Conversations with Ryan James Miller. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and share it with others. To connect with Ryan and learn more, visit ryanjamesmiller.com.